Hey, how's everybody doing? Hope you're all having a nice Memorial Day weekend. It is Sunday at 4:20, and I've got some old dear friends of mine, Solar Circus. They're going to be hanging out with me on StreamYard in a few minutes, and we've got a couple old videos to play for you guys and a couple new video collaborations that we did over the last couple days and weeks. And I was very stoked about that. And so I'm just going to get this kicked off with some music first. I'm going to play a song by Dave Brubeck and a song by Bob Dylan. Happy birthday to Bob Dylan. And then we're going to say hi to Solar. Today, tomorrow, yesterday too. The flowers are dying like all things do. Follow me close, going to Bali and Lily. I'll lose my mind if you don't come with me. I fuss with my hair and I fight bud flute. I contain multitudes. Got a telltale heart like Mr. Poe. Got skeletons in the walls of people you know. I'll drink the truth, the things we said. Drink to the man that shares your bed. landscapes and I paint news. I contain multitudes. A red Cadillac, a black mustache, rings on my fingers that sparkle and flash. Tell me what's next, what shall we do? Half my soul, baby, belongs to you. A rollick and frolic with all the young dudes. I contain multitudes. I'm just like Anne Frank, like Indiana Jones, and them British bad boys, the Rolling Stones. I go right to the edge, I go right to the end, I go right where all things lost are made good again. I sing the songs of experience like William Blake. No apologies to make. Everything's flowing all at the same time. I live on the boulevard of crime. I drive fast cars and eat fast foods. I contain multitudes. Pedal pushers, red blue jeans, all the pretty maids and all the old queens. All the old queens from all my past lives. I carry 4 pistols and 2 large knives. I'm a man of contradictions, I'm a man of many moods. I contain multitudes. You greedy old wolf, I'll show you my heart, but not all of it, only the hateful parts. I'll sell you down the river, I'll put the price on your head. What more can I tell you? I sleep with life and death in the same bed. Get lost, madam. Get off my knee. Keep your mouth shut. Away from me. I'll keep the path open. The path in my mind. I'll see to it that there's no love left behind. Play Beethoven's sonatas, Chopin's preludes. I contain multitudes. Happy birthday, Bob Dylan. What a great song that you wrote and shared with us most recently. And wish you well and a good day, sir. Well, like I said, I've got some special guests, Solar Circus, here. Before we say hi to them, I'm going to just play one of these pre-recorded a cappella videos that we just did. We just finished it the other day. It's a classic Solar Circus song written by Mark Diomede. I think it might have been on the very first record back when I was in grade school. It's called All Here Together. So, Patrick, when you're ready, let's check out All Here Together, then we'll talk to the boys.
Faces moving by, places we have been. sets aflame, stand there amazed, think about the day, yeah. Echoes glisten from within, like a movie that you're meeting the scene. Love is the theme, awaken a dream. We're all here together, watching the roads unfold. All here together, let the stories be told. Time spinning by and stretching forward, right in the light of a burning star. Years we walk the earth, faces moving by, the places we've been. We're all here together, watching the roads unfold. All here together, let the stories be told. We're all here together, watching the roads unfold. All here together, let the stories be told.
Hey, what's up, fellas?
What's up?
Hey,
Hey, Jason, how are you, man?
Oh, good. What's up, you guys? So that was fun making that acapella video. Thank you guys for turning that around. I know it's a new technology for all of us, but it's a cool way for us to at least collaborate a little bit now. Listen, you guys.
lots of fun. Lots of fun that was. Yeah.
So just to give everybody an idea of where you guys all are, Charles, you're down in Virginia,
That's correct. Alexandria, Virginia. Thank you.
and Mark, Tom, and Kevin, you guys are all still in Jersey, right?
True.
Jersey Shore.
We are.
Jersey strong, man.
Pleasant.
So Mark, you started Solar Circus. Was that in 1984? Is that right? Was that the beginning of the band?
Yeah, technically, it kind of really was. We actually released a 45. We pressed a 45 with two songs, and that was with Kenny Golochuk was playing guitar and keyboards at the time instead of bass, and Joey Cafaro and Ken Zimmer. Yeah, that's a lifetime ago, right?
Yeah, and you guys used to play in like Grateful Dead at shows, like in the lot where you guys would set up like a mini stage or something like that, or
We definitely did a bunch of shows in the parking lot. We would rent a generator and set up, just kind of play our stuff and try and get a dance party going. There's a lot of people that knew us from that before the whole Relics thing. Actually, it was kind of cool.
that's cool. And so then you signed with Relics and started writing a bunch of original stuff and putting records out.
Yeah.
And then the next addition to the band was Tom. Tom, you came in what year?
Spring of '92. Yeah. First shows in Tuscaloosa, Alabama. We had a 3-night stand down in College Station Theater, right on the strip, McFarland, I think, in Tuscaloosa. It was like, get in here and swim.
Yeah, I remember that show because Dan Tepper was our sound guy, and he figured out what the resonant frequency of the room was and boosted it at the bottom of like a bass bomb, and the whole room shook. I mean, that was I remember that moment. That was Tom. I looked at you and you were like, "What did I get myself into?"
I've still been asking myself that question.
And then Charles, you came into the band shortly after that, correct?
Very shortly after that, from what I understand, yeah.
And then I guess I joined in the summer of '93, and my connection, I was just pretty much right out of high school, but my older brother Brett knew you guys. He was a taper that so he used to see you guys probably in the late '80s and early '90s, and he was friends with Roger Jones, and so Roger was he the sound man? Mark, what was his role?
Roger was like our spiritual advisor. he did a lot of taping with us. He did some sound with us over the years. He was always there helping loading gear and cheerleading us on the side for sure. And
so I guess you guys had put the word out to Roger that you needed a keyboard player. We're looking for a keyboard player, and I auditioned for you guys. I remember the date. I think it's August 31. 1993 at the Chatterbox in Seaside.
Wow.
I
remember meeting you at the Wetlands a little before that, Jay, like backstage, and you were like, "Yeah, I'm going to be coming down and doing a show with you guys." I'm like, "Yeah, cool."
You're like, "Yeah, kid."
How does kid get backstage?
Looking at those old photos, man, I was pretty young.
19, to be exact.
I was 19. Yeah.
19.
And I toured with an orchestra before that, but I'd never toured with a band. And I was really, really excited and grateful to be able to join this group. And we went cross country and we played the Sweetwater and the Warfield in San Francisco. And we got to play with Pete Sears. When we opened for Hot Tuna at the Warfield, I remember, Pete sat in with us. And, I play with Pete all the time now with Moonalice. And, he didn't make that connection until I brought it up. We were having some wine. It was late. We were on the bus, and I kind of looked at him. I was like, "Remember that time we jammed at the Warfield in '94?" He was like, "What?" He thought he met me in 2000. But he remembered that night, and he enjoyed it a lot. And there's so many great memories from tour. So then, after that, Kevin, you were the most recent addition to the group.
Still the new guy.
Do you have any fond memories of that you'd like to share about your entrance into the band?
I just feel as though you guys were nurturing the situation after something you'd been in, and realized that you wanted to take it to a different place, and I felt like as though I could, be the missing piece, It was a lot of fun going out to your place, Jay, and shedding the material. Remember that weekend, long weekend? I forget what holiday it was.
The snowstorm.
Yeah, and it was Elvis's birthday. And there was a party in your house.
Yes, my mom is a huge Elvis fan, and she would throw Elvis parties. I'm sure she's watching right now. So it's a shout out to the Elvis parties from back in the day.
It was a lot of fun, though, and I was so excited just to fulfill a dream I had, and you guys made it happen. And I thank you a lot for that, really.
Yeah, it was. I'm so glad that we've, this is now 25 years later since then. When you joined, 27 since I joined. That's pretty unbelievable. We toured a lot, nationally, but I think probably had our biggest following in, but even though we were a Jersey Shore based band and had our hardcore fans there, but between Baltimore and Alabama, like the Southeast was kind of our zone. And we ended up living there for how long? For like 3 months?
12 weeks.
Football season, the length of a football season?
A football.
12 weeks.
Yeah.
12 weeks. Beauregard, Alabama.
Beauregard, yeah. So we thought that we would save some money on hotel rooms and rent a couple houses. And Tom, if I remember correctly, did we pretend to be like college students? How did that go down?
Yeah, I'm not 100% sure. We shook a hand and we had 2 houses, so you know how that goes. I think Biddy and Jason helped broker that one from Auburn.
That's right. We had some friends in Auburn that were like, yeah, you know, they're looking to rent some houses, and so we took over these 2 4-bedroom houses in the middle of Beauregard. I remember getting pulled over walking.
Pulled over for walking on the street. Yes, thank you.
They didn't like my long locks. But good times overall.
I remember the cows. The cows used to wake us up in the morning. You know, they just come right
in the window.
Right up to the window. They would come right up to our window. Yeah, that was cool.
And we
that was at your house. It was quiet. It was quiet at our place.
Yeah. Wait, hey, we requested that, man. You kidding? That was cool.
We created a recording studio in one of those homes. We tried to create an album in one of those homes.
That's right.
Yeah, when you and an honorable mention here, of course, Kevin Fritzing, our road manager, who would, without him, we wouldn't have been able to do all the stuff we did. So shout out to him. I hope he's watching. But yeah, when you came back with the story that, man, we got pulled over for walking. and Jason, please, tell, if you don't mind, tell the story of what the officer said to you.
Well, what he said was, where what are you guys doing? What are you boys doing? And I said, we're walking. And he said, walking where? I said, we're walking. We're taking a walk. And he's like, okay, let me see some ID. We were wearing sweatpants, so there was no ID. And I said that I mentioned that we lived here. And he just, by my look and accent, did not believe that I lived. And, but I had no ID, and, it was just one of those things, no cell phones, no nothing. So he like got back in his car and was just kind of on his radio for about 5 or 10 minutes. And Kevin and I just stood there like we were, we didn't have a car to be sitting in. We were just like pulled over. We were just like standing. And then he comes back and he says, I'm going to let you go, but the next time you boys decide to go walking, make sure you have your ID with you. So if I find your dead body on the side of the road, I know where to send it.
Welcome to Beauregard, Alabama.
Man. But we had a lot of good, we have a lot of good friends from that area that are hopefully watching, and some really good times and some great crowds. It's like a lot of good memories from playing down there for sure.
Some of the best crowds and the most hospitality-oriented people I've ever been around in my life, to be honest.
Yeah.
People were very welcoming.
But the local sheriff was surprised. But after we got back from Alabama, that was the fall of '94, and we were touring and we kind of settled in. I think I felt like in '95 we started to settle in to less touring and more like weekly events where we would play the Lions Den every Wednesday, the Metro Lounge every Thursday, the Chatterbox every Tuesday, or alternate with another club, right? And we had the Gateway. Right. And then we would travel on the weekends. Like, like I think we started to get a little burnt on the like, constant touring thing. And
yeah, and we did the Daybreak CD too in early '95 as well. Right when Kev joined, we kind of went right into the studio at Trax East, which was fun.
But in that 4 years, man, I think we did 2 or 3 national tours. We put out 2, if not 3 CDs during that period of time. We were averaging 180 to 240 dates a year during that period of time. Those were, I guess my our logistical guy over here, Tom, he put those numbers up. I don't forget that kind of stuff. It was intense and probably some of the most fun I've ever had. Are you kidding?
Yeah.
And before you get there, Jay, we got to tell the story about when you first joined the band and we left you.
You guys go ahead on that one.
Okay, where was it again? What college?
It was in Pennsylvania somewhere. I don't know.
Some college. It was probably the
I'm
first.
just surprised that they went back.
The first tours that Jason did with us, so we weren't used to having him with us.
Right.
And we finished the gig at a fraternity. We loaded the bus up, and we drove away. And we forgot the kid. We literally left him there, and we drove and made it to the highway. We were on the highway. We were, and before we got to the next exit, I looked around and said, "Where's Jason?" And everybody cracks up laughing hysterically because we knew we had left him, literally left him.
You left me at a frat house.
Hey, it was solar hazing,
You would've
man.
been
It was
fine.
like you had to go through that to get in the band. You should see what they did to me. And I started the band. No, I'm only kidding.
So we go to the next exit, we turn around, the tour bus pulls up, and there's Jason sitting on his backpack in front of the fraternity house, the ones that have the pillars in front of it. He's dead square in the middle of the two pillars. And we pull up and open the doors of the van, and he just kind of climbs on the bus. We're laughing hysterically still. We thought this was the funniest thing that ever happened. And Jason, of course, wasn't as enthused as we were. He wasn't laughing as hard as we were. But I couldn't believe we just left the poor guy.
Yeah, and that was 1993, so it's like there was no way that I could call you guys on a cell phone or somehow get, I don't even think there was pagers yet.
I think you might have had a pager, Jason. You might have had the pager.
I had a pager in the late era. I remember the pager in 96.
I think it was Penn State. But I'm trying to remember the college, but yeah.
But anyway. It was definitely one of the first shows.
Yeah, certainly one of the first tours.
Yes, definitely the first tour. But to get back to 95, when we were in that zone of the weekly gigs, I thought we were playing really, really great because we were making a record and we weren't as road weary, like it was like kind of closer to home gigs, and things were cruising along. And I remember, listening to the radio and driving to, I think, my parents' house on Long Island and finding out that Jerry Garcia had passed away. And they said on the radio, New York City Police Department has allowed, there to be one, Grateful Dead gathering in the Village tonight. It's going to be at the Lion's Den with Solar Circus. And I was just like, holy shit, like, what is this, what is this going to be? And, I know we were all kind of in a weird place because, Garcia, was a part of our lives and musical vocabulary. But then all of a sudden we were faced with doing this gig, which was usually kind of like a casual Wednesday in New York City, and ended up becoming like kind of mayhem. Like, Tom, what do you remember about that night at the Lions Den?
Well, I remember we came out after our first set, and the whole of West Fourth, there was just people lined up everywhere. They had shut it down to pedestrian traffic, and like it was just insane. So I basically just remember going around and talking to everybody and saying, "Hey, don't even worry about lining up here. Just like kind of hang out. Like they're not going to let anybody else in, and just kind of be with each other and hang out because there's really nothing going on inside that's not going on outside as well." So, but yeah, the West Fourth was just it was crazy that night.
How many songs did we get to play? Do you remember, Mark? Like what?
I remember we got to play a first set, and after the first set, I guess the police and the fire company shut it down because there was just too many people. Well, the bar was to its capacity, and the streets were shut down. There was just deadheads everywhere. I remember pulling up to the place, and there's cameras and like people taking pictures, and Associated Press, and it was just unbelievable. And it's just such a heavy moment in life where geez, we're thinking, man, we got to get up there. Our biggest mentor just passed away, and we gotta make these people feel happy.
Yeah, I can only imagine, how much that meant to you, Mark. I mean, being so influenced by Jerry, and then having that, to play that night must have been intense.
I mean, it was an honor, really. It was an honor to be able to do that. But it was just the intensity of the moment was one of those, things that you never forget the feeling.
Yep. And then the next day so that was like our regular Wednesday gig became that event. And then the next day, on Thursday, we were doing our show at the Metro Lounge, which, was always well attended, but, because of Garcia's passing and us doing these tributes, we now had a sold out show ahead of us at the Metro Lounge, and we show up for sound check. And Kevin, what's your memory of showing up at that sound check the next day?
Seeing just about everybody I knew and thought of at dead shows, and then sitting at the bar, lo and behold, was Bruce and his father-in-law drinking beers, trying to absorb the situation. And Butchie from Splinter was sitting right next to him, and Butch was like, I already asked him if he wants to play with you guys, and he's not really. I'm like, So, long story short, let's put it that way. We had met a few times. I think he remembered me somehow from a conversation we might have had at the old Mrs. J's beer garden years back. And I think we just had some kind of memory, and he wanted to be part of it. I think what really brought him into playing with us is when he came into the room and he was standing in the back, and I think he got convinced that he wanted to sit in from something we had played. And I found that to be a most amazing moment in my career. It was, it was great.
Charles, did you, the Bruce we're talking about is Bruce Springsteen. I guess, if you're from Jersey, you just know just to say Bruce. Right? Those of you here in California, there's a famous guy named Bruce Springsteen from New Jersey. Charles, you went up to him and asked him if he would play with us as well, right?
That's correct. Yeah.
It was Charles and I. He was sitting in the back room. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Charles.
We were setting up in where we were going to play, and somebody came from the other room, the bar, into the club and said, Bruce Springsteen sitting at the bar having a beer. And I laughed hysterically and said, right. And walked into that room, and somebody that looked just like Bruce Springsteen was sitting there. So I just walked up to him and gave him a little bump and said, hey, how you doing, Bruce? And he responded and shook my hand and said, yeah. And I said, we'd be honored to see you sit in with us. And he goes, I'm having a beer right now with my friends. Let me think about it. He goes, when are you going on? And I said, about 10 minutes. I went and got my drumsticks, got to the stage. Somebody had taken Tom Donovan's guitar off him, gave it to Bruce. And the next thing I knew, this is, again, cell phones had just started hitting people's hands. It wasn't, it hadn't been a year that everybody had a cell phone. And it went from, our normal crowd to completely stuffed, sardined with your brother with a camcorder, crowd surfing, catching the performance of a lifetime for us.
Yeah, so my brother actually got a video. So why don't we get to that?
Good job, Brett.
Yeah, thank you, Brett,
Yeah, Brett.
for capturing that moment, Brett. And we have a couple clips. That it was kind of a long thing, so we'll just play it. We'll start out. This is a clip of Better Things and Brighter Days, of Bruce's guitar solo, and then I think there's just the last verse of the song. But check out this clip of Bruce Springsteen with Solar Circus at the Metro Lounge. Seconds. And we're back. How about that, man? We were chatting about this offline, or while that video was playing, we were still on StreamYard talking about it. And it was definitely, I feel somewhat embarrassed watching it, because you can't deny that kid was seriously having his first rock star moment. You guys were excited, but were more calm and collected.
I was too calm.
Jay, I think we got back to my house that night at probably like 3:30 in the morning or something like that, and we were just so amped about the whole thing. We're like, "Who do we know in California that we can call? You know, it's not too late there. It's only 12:30." So
we stayed up all night hanging with your dad that night.
yeah.
He was stoked, and we just talked about it till like 4 a.m.
Yeah.
I never knew that.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, we were all definitely on a high. Let's watch another one of those. We have another clip. It's Bruce, basically we weren't sure if he was going to play. Like, I think we asked him to play a song, right? Like, we didn't know how long he would extend the invite. He ended up playing the whole set with us, but after Better Things ended, he was just kind of like, all right, well, what do you guys got? You know, like, and he sang Mustang Sally. So Patrick,
I was like, how about Mustang Sally? You know, and he's like, he was trying to figure out the key.
Yeah.
He was tinkering around trying to find a key.
So yeah, let's roll a little Mustang Sally, and then we can chat some more. All right, man, that was awesome, Mustang Sally. We were just talking about that guitar that Springsteen was using. That was your guitar, Tom, right?
That was. So for any of you gearheads who've been tracking my rigs for the last 20 or 30 years, if you're wondering how I wound up playing a Paul Reed Smith that night, so right after Charles comes back and says, "Hey, Bruce is here," and says he's going to play, we're like, "Well, we don't have a guitar for him." So, now normally if somebody cool was there, I would just give up my guitar, and then so Mark could and the guitar player could could jam out. But I was like, "No way, man, not tonight." And literally right then, Pat from Rose Hill, which is a local Jersey Shore Almonds cover band, like awesome band, happened to be like right outside the backstage door, and he had his guitar, he had his PRS with him. So I was like, "Dude, Bruce is here. Can we use your guitar?" He's like, "Yeah, of course." So when Bruce came up on stage, I was like, "Hey man, we got this Paul Reed Smith, and we have my Strat." And he was like, "I mean, I guess I'll take the Strat. It's closer to what I'm used to." So that we basically wound up sharing. We wound up splitting the rig a little bit, but Bruce wound up playing my Strat straight into my Jazz Chorus, a Roland JC 120, and I had like a preamp that I was playing to, so we kind of split it. But yeah, we shared a guitar rig that night, and he used my guitar. So
That's awesome. And he must have cranked that amp up, man.
it sounded good for the first time ever.
I'm sorry, Tom, what'd you say?
It sounded good for the first time ever.
Turn it up to 11.
And then
sounded
later on, a couple months later, we were in DC at the Bayou, and there's another Roger Jones story, and we were playing with Aquarium Rescue Unit, and Roger gets Jimmy Herring, is like hitting Jimmy Herring up to sit in with us, and he's like, "Yeah, man, I don't have my rig." This is per Roger anyway. Like, "Yeah, I don't have my rig. I'd love to, but," and Roger goes, "Well, it was good enough for Bruce Springsteen." So Jimmy played with us that night too. So
Yeah, that's right.
And I have to mention and thank you guys, for just being who you are, because of those experiences that we had together at Solar Circus. It really did shape, what was to come for me as far as future gigs and collaborators, because like I met O'Teal and Jimmy and Kofi and a lot of people through Solar Circus, and like those shows with Jimmy sitting in and Kofi sitting in and getting to play those festivals eventually led to me playing with O'Teal, and that's how I got the gig with Susan, and on. So it's like it's amazing, to think back on those times. And you guys also got me to start playing violin again, because I had quit playing violin.
yeah, man.
I have to tell that story, Jason.
Go for it.
We're in your room in Glen Cove. Tom Donovan and I. We're staying over there. It's like 2 or 3 overnight before we got on the bus and went south from wherever the hell we were at the time. And we got up in the morning, and we're hanging out in your room, and Tom and I looked down at the bottom of your closet, and there is a violin case sitting at the bottom of your closet. And it was under some clothes that may have been dirty or not. I'm not sure. But we pulled those clothes off of that violin case and pulled that violin case out, and we put it on the bed. And we opened that violin case up, and you looked at that, and we smiled, and we pointed to it and went, like, "What's this?" And your comment to me was, "I don't do that anymore." And we went, "Oh, really?" And we shut that violin case, we locked it, and we put it on the tour bus. We took it down to Alabama with us. And I think that was one of your first gigs performing live.
Yeah. I was thinking about this. So like,
you were a kid, if I'm not.
I remember we had the farmhouse, and like you just didn't want anything to do with the violin. And it's funny, right? Because I think you had said to us like, "Well, violin was my original instrument." Right. And then like at this point we're starting to realize, well, you can pretty much play anything, It would be in a room, it would be some weird instrument, you could play it. We're like, oh, so like you had the violin at the farmhouse, and like you would never play it. So I remember picking it up and like, I can't play violin, and I would just like plunk at it to like make annoying sounds. So you take it and hold it, And then so one night, and I'm pretty sure it was a frat party in Auburn.
Yes.
And I think it was the night that George Foreman won the heavyweight championship. So somebody could probably look that up and see when it was. But like we had like the crew, like Kevin and Sean Baker, bring out the violin, and then in between songs, I don't think he even knew. In between songs, I get on the mic. I was like, "Jason's going to play some fiddle for y'all," and you know, like, I mean, I'm sure you were really happy about that. I remember like shooting me looks of death over that one, Jason. and I'm sure it was a disaster because you're trying to play your violin like on a microphone in front of a rock band with like no pickup or anything. But
people went crazy.
They went crazy.
It worked, man. It worked, you know. And then I think it was a thing after that. We were like, "Yeah, fiddle."
They loved it. They thought it was the best thing since bread.
If you're gonna play in Alabama, you got to have a fiddle in the band.
Sometimes just a visual is enough.
And correct me if I'm wrong, Jason. Was that the beginning of your violin experience back playing professionally again?
Well, yeah, I played classical violin. You know, I started when I was like 3 years old, and then when I started touring with the orchestra as a teenager, I was actually touring as a violist. So at that point, I was playing viola, still taking violin lessons, but I was kind of shifting away from the violin even as a teenager more towards viola. And then I don't know, I didn't see the connection between the violin or the viola and playing in jam bands or rock bands. I just didn't have that in my head yet. And so I just thought I should focus on the keyboards, but you know, seeing the response, even, you know, like I'm sure, Tom, I did shoot you some looks, and I'm sure nobody could even hear what I was playing, but there was a reaction, and eventually I got a pickup, and you know, like it was a positive thing for me, and those experiences kind of kept happening where I still didn't feel 100% comfortable. I mean, I guess like, you know, four years later, I remember playing a violin solo with Susan Tedeschi at this amphitheater in San Diego, and it was my first gig with her, and we were on opening for BB King, so it was big, you know, shed amphitheaters, and I took a violin solo, and you know, thousands of people like stood up, like all these old, you know, like blues fans. And like Susan just looked at me. She's like, "Well, they love that," you know. Because I was just like covering, you know, her keyboard player for a week. I ended up staying in the band for 4 years, but I was just kind of a sub. But then because I think of the violin, I ended up keeping the gig. I think that it really shaped my career in a lot of ways as being somebody that could do both. You know, like people, you know, to this day, it's like having the keys and the violin has helped me big time, like including like the Jackson Browne thing. Like when I met Jackson, he knew that I was Jenny Lewis's new keyboard player. We met backstage, and he's like, "Yeah, I know who you are. You're playing keys with Jenny Lewis." And my friend Griffin, the drummer from Dawes, you know, taps him on the shoulder. He's like, "Yeah, he also played violin with Mahavishnu Orchestra, John McLaughlin." Jackson was like, he's like, "You're kidding me, right?"
That's great. That's great.
Hey, by the way, how's the trumpet playing going?
Well, I'm bringing the trumpet back. I just went on Amazon a few nights ago and I bought a new trumpet and a French horn. And I'm going to really focus on my brass playing this summer for real.
All right.
Yeah.
Well done, man.
Yeah.
I hear that.
Have you thought about Cuba?
Forgive me, Jason, but it went from that moment to the, you know, all through playing with Susan Tedeschi and all these other great artists, and then John McLaughlin decides after, I think the story you told me that his people contacted you and said you could cut this gig, and you went, "Okay, send me tell that story, please, if you don't mind. Send me the material," and they sent you all of it, and you called back.
What happened was you know, Jimmy Herring and John McLaughlin have the same manager, Shovik Dutta, who's an amazing guy and impresario of the jazz world, Abstract Logics, and he was, you know, Jimmy and John were already connected, and they were planning this tour, And Jimmy was called me and said, "Hey, I'm putting together this band for a year called the Invisible Whip, and it's going to culminate in this tour with John McLaughlin. We're going to play 25 shows without him and then 25 shows with him." And I was like, "Yeah, hell yeah!" And what he said though was, he's like, because I was like, "Isn't Mahavishnu music like crazy violin shit? Like I don't know, like if I'm qualified." And he was just like, "Don't worry." He's like, "Don't worry." Like he doesn't want a violinist. And I was like, "Okay, great." He's like, "Yeah, you just play keyboards, and there's 3 keyboard players, so like, you might not play every song, so don't even worry about it." And so I didn't. And then I got a call from the manager guy from Shovik, and he's like, "John heard that you're pretty good at violin. He wants to check you out. Can you send some YouTube clips?" So I sent the most impressive YouTube clips I could find, and I figured once he saw that he'd say, "Nah, no thanks." And he saw it and still wasn't convinced, but was like, "Yeah, I want to give you a shot." And they sent me the scores, and it's just like a book that I think I have actually right here. And I think anyone can get it. But it's the complete scores. So you got the guitar, the vocals, the electric piano, bass, all the drum parts. Charles, I'm sure you'd love to. Yes. Next time I come over to your house, we can look through it.
We can work through it, man. Yeah.
But so I practiced this book for almost a year because I had a lot of advance notice, and but I didn't know if I was going to make the cut until the day before the tour. So I emailed John and I said, "Hey, which songs do you want me to check out on violin? Which songs do you want me to check out on keys? Like as much advance notice as you can give me." And I told him, I was like, "I have a 6-string violin. I could play the viola parts or cello parts." And he wrote back, he's like, "If you can," he's like, "please learn all of the parts, and we'll figure it out at rehearsal," which is before the friggin' tour.
Unbelievable.
I'll tell this brief story about it before I know we're getting short on time. But the moment, there was such a roller coaster moment within that, because we played the most difficult song, at least for violin, where I have to play all of these unison lines with him. It's called Eternity's Breath, and we finished Eternity's Breath, and he turned back to his band and was like, "He nailed it," like pointing at me, like he nailed it. And like I like saw it, out of the corner, and I was like, "Fuck yeah!" And so I turned my amp up, because I got a little more confidence. I turned my amp up, and we played the next song. We finished the next song. He comes over to me, he's like, "Can you turn down? You're fucking killing me." And so I just like went from this like high, like he brought me right back down to humanity in a second.
Oh, shit.
And then after he was, I think he was half busting on me. Like I think he was aware of everything. He knew I turned up, and I didn't need to. Like I was fine where I was the song before. But
correct me if I'm wrong. When we spoke one time, you told me while you were on tour with Phil Lesh, you were practicing. And I tell my students this to give them incentive, okay? I said, I got a friend who was on tour, okay, and practicing 4 and 5 hours a day while in the hotel room to get ready for a performance with John McLaughlin while he's on tour with Phil Lesh and friends. That's a true story, correct?
True, except for maybe not 4 or 5 hours, But it was definitely daily practice, and I remember, staying at Kevin Fritzinger's place in North Carolina with him and Lynn, and practicing in their living room while they were at work during the day. And I think I was on tour with Jackie Green at the time. I was on tour with a couple different people throughout that year. And I remember Jackie saying to me once when I was like practicing, he's like, "What the hell is that?" He's like, it just doesn't make any sense to me. I was like, it's really challenging, and it's very strange music, but it was super rewarding and one of the most intense, amazing experiences I ever had. I was very nervous the first week of that tour. I think probably more nervous, probably as nervous as Kevin was, standing next to Bruce Springsteen, shoulder to shoulder.
Direct, yeah. Analogy taken. Yeah.
So, but before I say goodbye to you guys, let's just talk about, like, obviously we're not going to be able to do, we've been doing, for those that don't know, we've been doing reunion shows for how long now? I mean, it feels like it's been an annual thing for quite some time, right?
A couple of years, yeah.
And I guess 2020 is probably not in the bag, but I really look forward to seeing you guys and playing with you live again. And in the meantime, like these acapella videos, like I'd be down to do more of them. Anytime you guys want to try to collaborate.
Right on.
But this last song that we're going to play after we say goodbye is called "Better Things." Tom, do you want to talk a little bit about your song that we're going to play?
Yeah, sure. So anyway, this song, the first time we played it with Solar, this song actually has, the way we do it, it has 2 chords. There's no bridge. It's just a G and an A minor 7, and it just goes on forever, right? But like it used to have all these other parts, but we were in the middle of recording the Daybreak record, and we had a gig somewhere in North Jersey, and we just wanted to play something. I was like, I just don't want to play the same songs we've been recording every day in the studio. So I was like, hey, let's just do this thing, and we'll just forget about the other parts. And it was fun. And we kind of just kept it at that. So like with Freudian Slip, like the band that I wrote that song with, it's got all these other parts, and it was a different song title and some different lyrics and a different chorus and different bridge, and all that stuff went by, and we kind of made it this. But I mean, yeah, this was fun, man. Like we did this with Bruce, we played this with Jimmy Herring, we played this with all sorts of people throughout the course of the years, man. Because it's an easy one to sit in and be like, yeah, it's G A minor 7, go.
Yeah, that's great. And Mark, you've probably been the most active, I think, as far as like online recently. You're doing a regular streams these days.
Trying to stay sane, yeah. Just kind of get the music out there and keep myself focused on staying musical. So yeah, I've been trying to do things a couple times a week. I just did a socially distant jam with a couple of people last Thursday, and that went really well. So I think we're going to try that again.
And this is where can people find you? Like, is this through Juggling Suns or your personal page? Or
I usually stream things through all my pages with Juggling Suns and my personal page. So yeah, you could always catch me there for sure. Right on.
Well, I love you guys so much, and that this has been really great for me to see you all and connect, and let's keep it going offline and continue the correspondence and collaborations.
Right.
Yes, sir, man.
Thanks, Jay. Great to see you guys.
Yeah, thank you, Jay.
A shout out to Larry. A shout out to Sean Mayer's family. Shout out to Dan Tepper, and in particular Kevin Fritzinger. Without those people, we would have not been able to do the stuff that we did as long as we did it. So many thanks to those people. Thank you.
And Eric Bremer as well.
I'm sorry. Can't forget Eric. Thank you, Eric.
Everyone.
Everyone. All the people, all the fans. Hope to see you again sometime soon.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, well, we're going to roll this acapella Better Things, and we'll see you guys next time.
Be well. Be safe. Thank you.
Love you guys.
Love you too.
Care.
Better things and brighter days. I know they're on the way. Things can't get much worse than they appear today. Things we said we wanted, but still brighter days. I'd like to see them through the haze. Lockdowns and social distance have got in the way. The dreams that we aspire to lay trapped inside a maze. Better things and brighter days, I can see them through the haze. Better things and brighter days. It looks like they're here at last. All the fallen angels, just like where they've been cast. Keep your head held high. Don't worry about the past. Better things and brighter days. Looks like they're here at last.
All right. Well, thank you so much to Solar Circus. That was a real pleasure having them here, and just like the past few days and weeks. What's great about these shows for me is that it does take a little bit of preparation, and it involves the people that are the guests, and it's a way for us to get together online and test the StreamYard, do the acapella videos, and so. In addition to spending the hour that we just spent together, and we spent 45 minutes before that chatting, bringing up old memories and all that, and it's I hope it's enjoyable for you. It's very meaningful to me to have all of these connections. This is the 8th show that I've done, and I'm going to keep going because I've been lucky to have a lot of collaborators, and on Wednesday I'm going to have. Lo Faber and Aaron Maxwell Lieberman from God Street Wine as guests for the last of the May Wednesday's Backline fundraiser. And but anyway, I'm going to play one more song before saying goodbye. Before I do, I just want to just tell one last little story. We played those videos with Solar Circus and Bruce Springsteen and talked about that a bunch. And what I didn't mention was 15 years after that, I got to play with Bruce Springsteen again at Madison Square Garden for Pete Seeger's 90th birthday. And after the show, there was a bunch of people, about 80 people, that was all of the musicians that night that had just played the encore. And we were standing in this little holding area behind the stage of the Garden. And that pretty much was my only chance to talk to Bruce Springsteen, because he always had entourage and bodyguards, and it was kind of hard to get to him, even though we were on stage together. But at this moment behind the stage, I had a chance to make a beeline and talk to him, and I was like, Mr. Springsteen, I'm Jason, I'm Pete Seeger's piano player, and he shook my hand and was slightly interested in the conversation. And then when I said 1995 Metro Lounge, Long Branch, New Jersey, Solar Circus, he kind of squeezed my hand a little bit and was like, I remember that. And that caught the eye of Pete Shapiro, who was nearby, and he called me over and he was like, I just saw Springsteen. He was so engaged. He's like, what did you say to Bruce Springsteen that he wanted to talk to you when all of these other rock stars are around? Why did he want to talk to you? I've known Pete for years, so he was kind of kidding with me, busting my chops. And I said, Relics recording artist Solar Circus, because he had just joined the Relics team or took it over. And that was actually how Pete and I reconnected, and I started playing the Brooklyn Bowl and the Cap shortly after that. So all of these things kind of seem like a circle, and I thought that might be a cool story to cap this off with. And here's a song from Pete Seeger called "False from True." When my songs turn to ashes on my tongue, when I look in the mirror and see I'm no longer young, then I got to start the job separating false from true. Then I know I need the love of you. When I found tarnish in some of my brightest dreams, when some folks trusted turned out not quite what they seemed, then I got to start the job of separating false from true. Then once more I know I need the love of you. No song I sing will make Governor Wallace change his mind. No song I sing will take the gun from a hate-filled man. But I promise you and you, brothers and sisters of every skin, I'll sing your story while I have breath within. We gotta keep on keeping on even when the sun goes down. We gotta live, live, live until another day come around. Meanwhile, better start over, separating false from true. And more, I know I need the love of you. We gotta keep on keeping on even when the sun goes down. We gotta live, live, live until another day comes round. Meanwhile, better start over, separating false from true. And more, I know I need the love of you. have a wonderful Memorial Day weekend, and we'll see you all really soon. Thank you to Solar Circus. Thank you to Patrick, Moonalice Tribe, for making this all happen for me. Y'all take care. See ya.